shop. I got a really good build today for you. We're going to build this Adirondack chair. So you can watch the video, follow along, and watch how I build this. And hopefully I can inspire you to build one yourself. So let's get this started.
You ever been just sitting on your deck, you can't get comfortable, and you're just like, man, I need a more comfortable chair. And then you have an idea. So we're going to use this beautiful dimensional lumber from the big box store to make that beautiful Adirondack chair that you saw in the beginning of the video. Yes, pretty wood, pretty. Oh, watch out for those splinters, Mike. They'll get you every time. So let's fix this splinter issue and get to building. Alright, we dealt with the splinter issue, and now we're going to start getting into this build here. So we've got our templates here, picked up from Rockler, not sponsored, but I do like their templates. You can order them in the 1/4" MDF. Let's move that drink out of the way. So here we're just going to kind of go through the box, make sure we've got all the pieces, make sure everything's there that we need, and just kind of make sure it's there. Once we know we've got all the pieces, we can start moving on to the next part. See? MDF, pretty sturdy, not too bad. Alright. Now once we get them all out of the box, just kind of make sure everything's there. All parts are there. We're going to get this box out of here. We're going to go put that box back on the shelf so we can store them when we are done. Yep. Goodbye. On the shelf. No. We're not going to do that. Like I said, we're going to put it on the shelf. Put it back where it's supposed to be. You know. Alright. Alright, we're back. Now, let's go through. We're going to connect these two together. I believe this template here is for the main support leg. Alright, get that all put together. We have to beat it into submission a little bit. Let's see. Yep. Alright, get it in there and boom. Hit it together. Look at that. It's all together. Good to go. Moving on. We're just going to kind of check the rest of the pieces and make sure everything is there. And once we've looked through them all, make sure they're all there. We're going to go ahead and put these to the side. We're going to check the rest of these pieces. You also want to make sure they're good to go. That's the armrest. Make sure there's no damage to them. And just kind of get them pushed to the side. Alright, we got everything. We're going to get these out of the way so we can start tracing these onto our material. Yep, there you go. Just slide everything out of the way. And we're going to keep the main leg, I think. Nope, nope. Oh, we're starting with the arms. Start with the armrest, and I believe this is a 2x8 we're using. So we're going to be using a combination of 2x8s and 2x6s. 2x8s are going to be for the armrest. You just want to kind of lay them out to maximize the space and minimize the waste. And I'm using a Sharpie to trace them out just because the Sharpie is easier to see. And then once we get these all traced out, we're going to go ahead and move over to the bandsaw. So you're not going to sit here and watch me trace every single one of them out. We're going to use some movie magic, and we'll be back once they're all traced. Alright, before we get to the bandsaw, we're going to cut these down into some more manageable pieces, just so they're a little easier to use on the bandsaw. So we're going to cut them down to the individual pieces, just to, that way I'm not trying to push a 8-foot piece of wood through my little benchtop bandsaw, and just kind of make things a little easier on myself. So we're going to cut these all down and get these going. And that way they're just a little bit more manageable. So let's get these cut down, and then we're going to move over to table saw, and we're going to start cutting down the slats for the seat. So let's get that done. Alright, here we are at the table saw. We're going to start cutting down these slats for the seat part, you know, where you put your butt. And we're going to get these cut out. Don't worry, my hands are far enough away from the table saw. I am using a push stick. I have seen way too many accidents with table saws. I've seen quite a few people lose fingers from these. So we're going to push these all through. We're going to use some movie magic. Got that first one cut, and there we go. Cutting that last one. There we go. We're going to push that through and just kind of let it go. Move that one out of the way. Nope. Should not have done that. Should have just let it fall. But we got them all cut. Alright. Now the only downside using dimensional lumber is these seat slats are way too thick. So what I'm doing here is I'm literally just going to be cutting these in half so I can get 2 slats per board. And by doing that, it kind of saves on material. You don't got to cut so many, but I definitely made way too many slats. So we're going to get these all cut down, cut them to size, and get these thinned out. I'm cutting them down to about 3/4 of an inch thick is kind of what I'm shooting for here. So let's go ahead and get these cut down. We're going to use a little bit of movie magic so you don't have to sit here and watch me cut every single one of these. And there we go with the movie magic. We've got the last one cut down. Oh, wait, nope, there's one more still left to cut. But we're going to get that last one there cut. And then we will start moving on to the bandsaw, I believe, is next. There we go. It's all cut. Good to go. And we're good. Alright, we finally made it to the bandsaw. And we're going to use this bandsaw here. It's just a little benchtop bandsaw. It gets the job done. Eventually I'll probably get a bigger one. Get a nice standalone bandsaw. But so we're going to use the bandsaw, and we're going to trace the lines we put on there with the templates. And I'm not cutting right to the line. I'm leaving anywhere between 1/8 of an inch to maybe 1/4 of an inch. And just kind of cutting them out, getting them, we're just kind of rough cutting them and kind of hoping for the best. As you see there, I turned the saw off, moved that little piece, make a little bit of an adjustment here. Because if you're not careful, that bandsaw will bite you, and it will hurt you when it bites. I've never been bit by it, but I play it safe. I have a lot of respect for the tools that I use in my shop, because I don't want to be one of the guys going to the hospital with an injury from one of my tools. So we're going to get these all cut out on the bandsaw, and then once we get them all cut out, we will move on to the next step. Alright, now before we move to the router table to trace all the templates with a flush trim bit, we're going to take all the templates and we are going to put them onto our dimensional lumber that we've cut out on the bandsaw. As you see, it's a rough cut, left a lot of material on the one side of the line, and we're going to use the templates to flush them up, to copy the templates. And we're using just some double-sided carpet tape here. Works really well. Been using it for as long as I can remember, and it works great. You can also use the painter's tape with the CA glue, but I like the carpet tape. It's not that expensive. Pick it up off Amazon. And so we're going to go ahead and put the tape on. Put 3 pieces. You don't need a lot to hold it down. Use the 3 pieces. Get it on there. And once we get that done, we'll move over to the router table. And we will get these all flush trimmed up. Alright, we got our tape on. We're going to stick it on there, try to match it to the lines, and then once we get that on there, we're good to go. As you see, I'm lining it up. Alright, And then to set it, we're just going to push it down. There we go. Push it down. And that template ain't going nowhere. Alright. Alright, we're at the router table. And we're going to use a nice flush trim bit to flush everything up to the templates here. And what we're going to do is that bearing is going to ride right along that template and get everything trimmed out, and that way our material matches the template perfectly. And this is why I like the templates from Rockler. They're MDF and they work amazing for doing this. You just stick it on there with that carpet tape and you run that flush trim bit right through it and you have no issues. So we're going to do this for every one of the pieces, and then once I get these all trimmed up, we will be back. Alright, so bear with me. I'm going to get these all cut, and then we'll be back once they're all trimmed up. Alright, we're still here at the router table. What we're doing now is just putting roundovers on all the pieces, because we don't want those square edges. So we're going to round everything over that needs to be rounded over, and just, makes it easy on the hands. Right here we're rounding over all the slats. I believe it's a 3/8 round over I use for the slats, and then a 1/2 inch round over for all the other pieces. And it just gives it a nice look. And I know my hands are looking like they're close to the bit, but they're not. I'm keeping them pretty far from the bit, and I'm watching every move I'm making. You don't want that thing to bite you either. That'll hurt. Just kind of getting everything with a nice round over on it. So I'm going to kind of let that go. And instead of sitting here watching me do everything, we'll be back once all the roundovers are done. Alright. Now it's time for every woodworker's favorite thing. Sanding! Yay! So now, all of our parts, we are going to sand all of them down. I'm going to start with a 80 grit, get it all smoothed out, and we're going to work our way from 80 grit, and then we're going to do 120 grit. And we're going to sand every single piece. So I don't have to bore you with all the sanding, here's a little time lapse of the sanding that I had to do. Alright, we're starting to get closer to the end here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to apply the finish, which is going to go over all the wood, and it's to protect it from the elements and the weather and just kind of seal in the wood. So this way the rain doesn't rot the wood out, the heat, the winter, and so on and so forth. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to coat every single piece. But what I did off camera was I've actually assembled the chair already once, just to make sure everything fit, everything was good, got all my holes drilled out, all the screws in. So now that I've got it together, I've taken it back apart, and now we're going to apply the finish. This would be a lot easier if I had a sprayer, but unfortunately my sprayer is broken at the time, and I just haven't had the time to fix it. So I'm going to painstakingly coat every piece. And then once this is all coated, we will then put the entire piece back together. So, yeah. So how about we just do another time lapse of me putting the finish on everything so you can see how much work goes into that. Also, if you stayed this long, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. I'm just starting out, trying to get it to grow, and every like and every subscribe really helps. And if I can start getting some more subscribers and the channel really does good, there could be some giveaways in the future, some raffles in the future. I do have a raffle planned for the future where I will be building a table and raffling that off, and all the proceeds for that will go towards autism because my son is autistic, and they have really helped. The ABA therapy has really helped him. He has made leaps and bounds. So please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. So without further ado, here's a time lapse of me putting all the finish on this Adirondack chair. Alright folks, here it is. All the parts laid out. We've made it to the end. It is time for the final assembly of this chair. Now I'm just kind of looking around. Where's my screw gun? There it is. Right, screw gun. Change out that bit. We're not going to use a Phillips head. We are going to use a star bit because we are using outdoor rated deck screws. So this way the screws won't rust out. There we go. We're going to get all the screws out, get everything laid out so we are just ready to go. So we're going to get that all laid out. We're going to look around. There it is, all the parts. And now it is time for assembly. We're going to get this whole thing assembled. Yeah, look at me. I am so happy that we are towards the end of this. This chair has taken me a lot longer than I wanted it to take. It should have taken me maybe 3 days, maybe 2 days to build, but due to unforeseen circumstances, I think we are at week 4 of building this chair. Get this all done, get everything put together, laying out the legs, and we're going to get that screwed together and all good to go. Get these legs on, lining up everything the way it was with the pre-drilled holes that I made. Because like I said, I've already assembled this once. I'm a little confused. Should have probably wrote everything down. But like I said, I've already assembled this once before I put finish on it and the sealer on it. Now we're going to get it all together. So sit back and enjoy while I put this together. And yeah, it doesn't take too long to get this thing all put together. Well folks, there you have it. All done, and I got my comfy seat on my deck now, enjoying my drink. So till next time, I'll see ya, and keep building. Get in the shop, make some sawdust. See y'all later. Have a good day.